Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Within Black Ops 6 multiplayer here, we obviously have a pretty diverse meta. Like, there's a lot of parity within this meta right now. Obviously, with the TTK being decently quick, that naturally means a lot of weapons have a chance at being pretty competitive, and that's definitely the situation. But today, I wanted to go through and break down the new top 10 best weapons and class setups specifically for Black Ops 6 multiplayer gameplay. So first up here, before we dive into any of the actual weapons, I do want to talk perks and equipment and field upgrades and whatnot really quick here. So I typically run the same stuff on basically every single loadout, so I only have to go through this once. For multiplayer, at least, concussions and flashbangs are kind of where I usually land. I like concussions a little bit more just because it's going to stop players, it's going to slow them down quite a bit. Stims are okay, but with the TTK being so fast, sometimes it's kind of hit or miss. You just don't get a chance to use them in certain situations, right? But concussions are typically my go-to there. And then I like Semtexes as my lethal as well. They just, to me, are the easiest and most reliable out of that, but a lot of that is preference based. Field upgrade, typically I'm going for Sleeper Agent. The Assault Pack is super useful as well. You might notice my perks are a little bit interesting just because I'm in the process of min-maxing XP essentially, and I think a lot of players who are in multiplayer are probably doing the same thing. From a competitive standpoint, I'd typically be going for an Enforcer style setup, likely running Gung Ho in perk 1, or even forward Intel in perk 2, and then perk 3 rocking with double time, and via perk greed I'd use something like Gung Ho or Dexterity, or flipping those back and forth so I could run an Enforcer specialty. But for min-maxing XP, I mean, Strategist is the way to go. You're getting bonus score essentially. It's going to be easier to level up. You're going to get your streaks faster. I spam UAVs and counters and stuff, and with this setup, streaks are super easy, bonus score is super easy. So I get Flak Jacket, that's a decent perk outright, but then Dispatcher and Bankroll combined together allows for easier streaks and extra score. Then Gearhead, just to stack on with that Strategist specialty there, is actually really efficient. So if you're trying to level up fast with weapons, base rank XP, whatever the case is, Strategist is actually pretty useful, all things considered. And of course, I'm running perk greed through that. But now let's focus on weapons. And first up here, we've got the Krig. This thing feels fantastic in multiplayer. Low recoil, aggressive, versatile. It's checking all the right boxes, even with 5 attachments here. First things first, for an optic, I like the Kepler Microflex. If there's a different optic you prefer more, feel free to go ahead and run that, but this is sort of my go-to in a lot of situations. I also like the ported compensator here just for some better control, makes this thing laser accurate. I stack that on top of the vertical foregrip, which helps out with some horizontal control. It becomes even more laser accurate. And I also have recoil springs on here too. Now, you don't have to go all in on control. If you want a gun that's basically never going to deviate, never going to move, this is that setup. Like, it is going to be laser beam like, and I found myself to fry with it. But if you wanted to swap out one of those maybe for a barrel for some better range or better velocity, or a rear grip for more aggressive gameplay with slide to fire speeds, dive to fire speeds, ADS, that's viable as well. Lastly, I do run the balanced stock on here for a bunch of movement benefits: strafe, general movement, ADS, strafe, just making it more aggressive. So this thing's got good range already to begin with. It's got great control now, and it packs a punch. So, like, I am loving the Krig here in multiplayer. Following that, I've got the XM4, another fantastic rifle. Behaves a lot like the Krig in terms of its versatility. Like, it's an easy to use rifle. It's got a quick TTK over all ranges, and it's decently aggressive, especially with this setup on here as well, for what it's worth. So again, not huge on the iron sights here. I like the Kepler Microflex. I bounce back and forth between this. The Merlin Mini's not that bad. There's even some good 2 to 3 times scopes if you want those, if you're playing some maybe the larger maps out there, but it's really just preference at the end of the day for the optics there, of course. Ported compensator here as well for the better recoil control outright. I really like Ranger foregrip here because this weapon's so easy to use. You get some benefits for speed and control at once out of this, which is pretty convenient. So you become more aggressive and you're more accurate all in one. That's a win-win. Balanced stock here as well. You'll see this spammed on a lot of weapons here in multiplayer. Then I go for recoil springs once more, just for some free recoil control. Why not? If you want a laser accurate build, you could also swap out balanced stock for the buffer weight, which goes crazy. In multiplayer, I don't find it to be nearly as necessary, just with a lot of the ranged engagements you're getting into. I like the aggressive build a little bit more personally. Now we gotta talk one of the brand new weapons here with Season 1 Reloaded. That is the Maelstrom shotgun. Obviously, whenever there is a new gun out, I'm always covering these, giving you guys the best setup for them in whatever my most recent top 10 video video is, and that of course is this one, surprise, surprise. This thing's actually pretty solid in multiplayer. It's aggressive because it's full auto, so it's pretty forgiving. It doesn't have like the fastest ADS or sprint to fire, so that's kind of like the only one main drawback of it. But outside of that, it honestly feels pretty good in my opinion. Consistent like 2 to 4 shot kill depending on your range, and you can definitely spam with this thing. So I like an ADS build personally. I just find it to be more reliable when I am ADSing, so I go for the modified choke here, just going to help out that ADS spread. Long barrel for a better damage range. Extended mag 1 is 12 rounds. Extended mag 2, if you want to level it up more, is 14. If you value that huge difference of 2 extra shots, go for it. It's not going to be the biggest deal there in my opinion. Ergonomic rear grip for the better slide to fire speed. That's really important for my gameplay. Then a better ADS speed as well. Then I go again for the balanced stock. You could maybe try out something like rapid fire, even throw on Dragon's Breath if you wanted to. If you wanted to be a little bit toxic, you'd have to swap that out for the long barrel, but a viable build nonetheless. But yeah, this thing's honestly pretty reliable as a shotgun, not too bad whatsoever. By the way, as we are breaking down all the weapons and setups here today, if you enjoy the video, if you find it helpful, a like rating is always seriously appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, you want to guarantee that every single day you are in the know for news, updates, patch notes, meta breakdowns, everything going on in COD. This is your one-stop shop, so feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications, and join us on the road to 1 million subscribers. Another fantastic rifle, the AK-74. This thing packs a punch. It's one of the heaviest hitters in Black Ops 6 multiplayer. I mean, it just fries. A little bit more recoil than a lot of the other options in the game, but it's not awful. Like, you can absolutely manage it. The more you use it, the more you get familiar with it, of course, as well. You learn this recoil pattern, you're set. You're gonna melt through everyone, really at any range, right? Again, I'm going for the Kepler Microflex. What a surprise, I know. I also go for the vertical foregrip here just for max horizontal recoil control, making the weapon a lot more predictable. Extended mag 1 in this case, I just feel like that 40 round mag here is really necessary on a weapon like this, where you might not land as many shots as with other easier to use rifles. So the safety net here is actually pretty valuable in my opinion. Ergonomic rear grip just for some better mobility, so I'm still staying aggressive with how fast BO6 MP plays. And then recoil springs yet again for some better control. If you wanted to go even more in on control, you could swap out ergonomic for a compensator. You could also swap that out for, you know, range or velocity, or both if you wanted to, if you're focusing more on a range-based build. But the AK-74 feels phenomenal as well. Next up, shifting away from some rifles, we got some subs that are fantastic in multiplayer right now, the KSV being one of them. One of the best SMGs up close, but it also has really good range at the same time as well. So really like the versatility that this brings to the table here. Not a huge fan of the irons though, which is unfortunate. I'd like to use an attachment elsewhere, but Kepler Microflex, I find myself to be way more accurate with this gun when I've got this equipped. I also go for the long barrel. Like I mentioned, it has the best TTK up close in its first damage range, so might as well extend that out even further where you can, right? Weapon's decently easy to use, but Ranger foregrip just makes it even more so, plus you get some good mobility out of that as well. Ergonomic rear grip for the better ADS on top of the slide, and dive to fire increases there, so just even more aggressive. Then of course the balanced stock for strafe ADS, strafe movement, hip fire movement speed, just more aggressive, all things considered there. So you're fast, you're agile, it's easy to use, and it's gonna kill quick. It's checking all the right boxes. The Kompakt is also a fantastic close range option. This one's got a little bit more emphasis on the ultra close range. It's you know, damage drop off is a little bit more severe than some other subs, but up close it will absolutely melt, right? So here we're going for the compensator. Even though we are focused on the close range, any control that we can get out of this is definitely going to be helpful here. Its fast fire rate definitely makes the recoil very noticeable, so this will just make it a lot easier to stay on target consistently. Range of foregrip will do that as well, plus you get the movement benefits there. Because the fire rate's so fast, I actually do use extended mag 1 in this case. 40 rounds is going to work fine for a lot of multiplayer scenarios. Ergonomic rear grip, better ADS, slide to fire, and dive to fire on there. And then again, the balanced stock for all the movement benefits it offers. I love the feel of this thing. I wish it had a little bit better range, but for a run and gun play style, this is one of the go-to choices. Hey everyone, quick reminder, if you're looking to stay hydrated and energized while grinding out Black Ops 6 and Warzone here, look no further than G Fuel. If you're grinding out camos, leveling up, checking out the new Season 1 content, whatever the case is, and you're looking to stay energized, G Fuel has you covered with their tubs and their cans. And if you're just simply looking to stay hydrated throughout the day, they've got you covered there as well with their hydration formula. Best of all, regardless of what you're picking up on the G Fuel site, code Immortal has you covered with that nice discount. Toss that in the checkout and save yourself some money. So if you're interested, link for that will be down in the description below. The Saug is also really reliable as an SMG. It has really good range too. Like, it actually stands above several other subs. Once you get out to that 10, 15, 20 meter range there, that sort of mid-range area, this thing's TTK actually ends up being a decent bit faster than several other choices, and it's really good in the close range too. So this is a very versatile SMG here. I go for the ported compensator. I just like like the feel of this over the base compensator for some reason. Just when I played, I felt like I was doing better with this, so I stuck with it, and it works well for me. Reinforced barrel, you get some velocity, some range. Obviously, if you're fighting in that mid-range a little bit, the velocity boost is going to be pretty convenient there. Ranger foregrip yet again for the better control and movement speeds there. Ergonomic rear grip for the better movement speeds as well, and to no one's surprise, the balanced stock once more. Basically, I'm just going all in on movement. It's more aggressive and snappy here because its TTK as is fantastic, and we can extend that out even more. So it's, again, also checking all the right boxes, extreme versatility and extreme efficiency in all the places you want to fight with it. The Jackal is, of course, a go-to still. It's been like this since the beta as a top SMG. It's no longer as overpowered as it once was, but it's still a great choice. Quick TTK up close, decent damage range as well. Gonna be a pretty standard setup here too. I go for the compensator, of course. No real need to run anything else here unless you wanted to try ported and see if you're more accurate like I was over on the Saug. I like the long barrel here, extending out that damage range even more, but reinforced is also always a good choice if you wanted to flip over to that. Never really a wrong answer there. Ranger foregrip per usual. I also go for ergonomic grip again. In this case, if we go through, you can see we've got a 165 ADS, a 110 sprint to fire. That'll be really solid, all things considered. Then the balanced stock yet again here too for all the movement benefits like before. Kind of a copy and paste SMG loadout, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It fries. I also love the feel of the C9 here in multiplayer. It's got clean irons, which is a big benefit for me. Like if a weapon has clean irons and I can use those and save an attachment, that's a huge win in my book. It's got good damage, quick TTK up close especially, and it's mad aggressive at the same time. It's one of my favorite feeling SMGs here in multiplayer. A bit of a different setup, although we're still using some of the same standard attachments. I do go for reinforced here, so some range, some velocity, just adding some nice versatility to it. Ranger foregrip, same deal as always with that. Same deal as always with the ergonomic grip. With that on there, we do end up with a 175 ADS, a 130 sprint to fire, a 160 slide to fire. Balanced stock, increasing our movement speed across the board there. Then I like the feel of recoil springs on here too, getting some horizontal and some vertical control there, just adding in a level of consistency with the recoil pattern there that'll make the weapon very, very easy to use so you can melt with it. And then lastly, I go for the XMG LMG, and I actually use gunfighter on this setup so I can get 8 attachments on this thing. It's going to be heavy and slow, so if you can speed it up and make it more aggressive, it's going to be a lot better here in multiplayer just as a general meta contender because it's got the damage, it's got the range to absolutely melt. You just need to be decently aggressive at the same time, and I think this setup does a good job at that. So whatever optic you want to run, go for it. I like the Kepler, of course, as we've very easily seen throughout this video. Compensator keeps it accurate, keeps it easy to use. Reinforced barrel, best of both worlds, some damage range, some velocity, never a bad choice there. Ranger foregrip, more control, but also some speed there, so it's a little bit more aggressive. Fast Mag 1 will also speed it up, plus you get a quicker reload out of that as well, so more aggressive, and it's a win on the reload speed. Ergonomic rear grip helps out with the speed, helps out with the ADS, obviously huge on an LMG as well, helps with the overall aggressiveness. Balanced stock does more of the same there, and then we again get some easier recoil out of the recoil spring. So it ends up being a lot faster. Kind of just feels like if the XM4 was a little bit heavier, since obviously it's kind of the same platform there, but as an LMG, it's one of my favorites in the game, and really as a long range option, it's one of my favorites in the game as well. But that being said, that's going to wrap things up for this video. If you enjoyed it or if you found it helpful, a like would be seriously appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button on your way out so you can always guarantee you're up to date with everything going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.